Call Marshall County Fiscal Court to order February 20th, 2018. Under guests, we'll go ahead. I see Jonathan sitting back there. Going to give us a sanitation update. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to be here today to just give you an update over the sanitation district. Things are going very well. We got our lab certificate in, so we are a certified lab now to actually do our analysis, which is for our pH and DO readings. We're getting our groundwater protection plans for 2018, getting them on file and submitted in and updated, sent into Division of Water. Things are going very well at the Draftonville and Aurora plants. We're seeing a continued decrease in the pollutants that are going out. I mean, we're running well within our permit ranges. The water is crystal clear, as about as we can get it going right now. The only problem that we're having right now is the significant I&I with the rainfall that we're getting.
Right.
But everything is going very well. I know that Chad's here. He'd probably give you a better update on what's going on with the expansion and the Aurora updates, but things are going very well. And I think just by the end of the week that we are probably fixing to be inspected by the EPA, so we're looking forward to Jesse coming in and seeing all the progress that we've made with the Draftonville plant. And
just so the court understands, the lab that you're talking about prior to
that, we've never had it and never done, all the paperwork, never anything got submitted in, so this is something new, and it's a new certification that we've got to continue the progress for the sanitation district. And of course, effective January, we merged and became one sanitation district. There is no longer 1 and 2, so it's all Marshall County Sanitation District.
So the district is self-sufficient in regards to the sampling and send, because I guess...
We still got to send off our analysis to Microbac to get our lab analysis in to be submitted in for the DMRs, but we can conduct our own testing there now because we've got the certificate to do so.
Great.
Jonathan, where are you as far as the grease problem in Draftonville? Last time you were here, you had a meeting with the 21 entities, and not everybody participated. About 3 of them showed up. And
we're seeing a significant reduction in the amount of grease that we're getting.
Is it being monitored at all?
Yes, I conduct the yearly fog analysis, fixing to actually start up and start redoing them again. Usually about every so many months or something like that, I'll go out and I check the grease traps weekly for all the businesses just to make sure that they're getting pumped. I checked all the records about every other month or so just to make sure that they're in compliance there. Everybody's doing great, and all the businesses have been super helpful in making sure.
I know from past experience, if you get the plant up to A1 shape and that continues to happen, the bugs, or you don't have the bugs there that you need to.
We've been very fortunate that we've not had a loss in any of our the reactors itself. We've been able to keep the bacteria and the biology alive and going. We did get hit hard, which was expected over the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays, but it wasn't nothing that we couldn't manage. We were actually able to keep everything going.
But everybody's in compliance out there as far as the numbers?
We're all working with on.
There are some that are not, still not?
That are still not, and some of it is a simple fact that the way that their grease trap interceptors were designed, they wasn't a proper grease trap. It was a septic tank that was installed. It's not baffled. Right. It's just flowing, so there's still some issues there that we're working on. Did tell them that if they did not work their best to get into compliance and take the enzyme systems out, that we would start looking into defying them. And so they discontinued their enzyme drip systems. After the first time I told them not to do it, when I left, they put it back into play. So it just kept everything, and I went back in there for a follow-up inspection, told them to disconnect it, they unhooked it and threw it away.
How many entities are not in compliance?
There's only about 2 to 3 right now, but they're not as high as they were. They're down.
Right. You got to start somewhere, and that's a whole lot better than it was.
Well, we were looking at on some of these businesses up into 3,000 parts per million. They're actually cut those numbers in half down to about 1,500 to 1,000 parts per million is what they were looking on BODs, and even closer on the grease itself that's coming into the system. So they're working on it. It's a work in progress, but they have drastically cut down what they're sending to us.
Hard to change old habits sometimes.
It is.
But it sounds like it's headed in the right direction.
It is, and I've even offered it that we would come in, I would sit down with their employees and do an educational series with offered whatever help that we could give them and get them further in compliance. So, I mean,
Deal.
I don't have any new updated list yet. I'm working on trying to get those in. Hopefully, with the next update that we'll give you, I'll have a list of all the businesses and what they're actually discharging, where they were at that time over a year ago and where they're at now.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Appreciate it, Jonathan. Thank you. We'll go into correspondence, personnel changes. Read these off. Marshall County Fiscal Court personnel changes, 2/20 of 18. Tracy Watwood added coroner pay, $1869.51 per month, with $50 cell phone stipend effective January 1st, 18. Jeff Daniel, base wage increase $21.77 per hour, effective 1/1/18. Chris Glenn, base wage increase $21.49 per hour, effective 1/1/18. Chris Greenfield, base wage increased $20.88 per hour, effective 1/1/18. Jennifer Byers, wage increased $17.08 per hour, effective 1/1/18. Trista Lovett, wage increase to $12.05 per hour, effective 1/1/18. Tim Childs, end of employment, December 31st, 17, from Road Department, transferred to Refuse District. James Draffin, wage increase to $18.28, effective 1/1/18. Daniel Jameson, wage increase to $18.40, effective 1/1/18. Charles Brown, wage increase to $18.40, effective 1/1/18. Christy Edwards, wage increase to $20.51, effective 1/1/18. Holly Moore, wage increase to $19.95, effective 1/1/18. Ricky Inman, removed 2/1 earnings for removing judicial supervisory role. Chandler Searles, wage increase to $13.64, effective 1/1/18. Shannon Morrison, wage increase to $21.78, effective 1/1/18. Charles McGuire, end of employment, effective 1/26/18. Andrea Howe, termination, effective 1/12/18. Jason Darnell, wage increase to $47,189.42 per year, effective 1/1/18. Karen Pritchard, end of employment from Animal Shelter, effective 1/19/18. Has anybody got any questions on those?
I had, we might have Jason to explain. I met with Jeff Edwards yesterday. I had a question about the wage increase, and you might expound on what's happening there. And I just assumed the rest of them are self-explanatory, the increases, but you might explain what Jeff kind of told me about Lisa's situation, and I was confused when and didn't understand that. But
yeah, Lisa's retiring. It's before the end of March. I think it's March 20th, something like that. I'm
Yeah.
going full time. I've already closed my private office. That increase on me is within our budget already, so it's no additional funds coming out of the fiscal court.
Right. Yeah, and Jeff explained that to me, but like I say, I wasn't. I had no information of that, and I just wondered why. I know why the rest of them are on there, but actually we have, as a court, have nothing to do with that, except, I mean, as far as since it's already in the budget and we've already approved the budget.
Right, it was already allocated.
Right, already allocated, the funds were allocated there, so, yeah, that's, what?
It's 100% reimbursed to the,
Say again?
100% reimbursed, so.
Okay.
It's not costing them.
Right, I mean, it's already in the budget. I mean, we subsidize the county attorney's office to a tune of a little under $500,000, but what increase is that?
About
10. Okay, that's what Jeff, I mean, that's, I think that needs to be, no, that's what he explained to me, and that's what, but like I say, I was confused. I didn't know what was going on about Lisa or anybody else, and I didn't know if it was like when Jeff asked us to hire a detective, that was all new money that wasn't budgeted and so forth, and I didn't know, like I say, I had no information, correspondence on that, so that's why I was confused. He cleared up, I just let everybody else know what's going on.
I want to make sure that I stayed on the record, because I think Jeff had told me, might have been why you were confused, that that did not come from my office. Any rate wage increase on this did not come from my office. So I want to make sure that's clear. I think it was stated that it did come from my office, so I just want to make sure that's clear. Any other questions on the personnel changes? Okay. TVA Invest Prep letter. Josh, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Thanks, Judge. At the last fiscal court meeting, we had discussed the commitment on the county's part in order to serve as the match for the TVA Invest Prep application we're putting together. I think you guys had discussed that, maybe took some action. Went down to get those minutes to put with the application, and it didn't reflect exactly what we had talked about and what I think the intention was. So I just wanted to make sure that there was some clarification by way of a letter from you, Judge. Basically, what we're looking at, the Invest Prep cap, the ceiling on those funds is $500,000. That's just a portion of the entire project as far as the acquisition of the property. We will be obviously talking with the County Industrial Development Authority, as well as the City County Industrial Development Authority and the Purchase Area Regional Megapark Board. I'm getting a letter of commitment from them on the grant funds that we have there. So what I need from you guys, or what I need from you, Judge, is just basically a letter saying that, if you are committed, that you're committed to to seeing this project through. What TVA's and the consultant group wants to see is that the community is committed to this project, whether they receive the funding from TVA or not.
Okay.
And that's just a stipulation of applying for that grant. It's a pretty extensive grant, so it's due March 9th, so before we jump in head first, I want to make sure that we get all of our commitment letters.
Right, and it's not uncommon. I know I went back and reviewed quite a few documents from years past, and it's not uncommon that the fiscal court and other city governments actually show commitment. So when we apply for these grants, they see that it's more of a local, regional effort. So I'm just going to read the letter that's prepared. To whom it may concern, I'm excited to offer this letter of commitment on behalf of the Marshall County Fiscal Court for the purchase of property known as Southwest 1 Industrial Park. Marshall County Fiscal Court currently has a 3-year renewable option on the property and committed to providing the funds necessary for the park purchase, and are looking forward to the Tennessee Valley Authority's participation through the Invest Prep program. Should you have any questions regarding the commitment of funds from the Marshall County Fiscal Court, please do not hesitate to contact me. Sincerely, Judge Kevin Neal. So that's just, and I do support it. I think that we do have to show local support to try to get take advantage of the Invest Prep program that the TVA has.
Just in that program, am I thinking of another program that those matching funds require it to be zoned industrial before we're eligible for those monies, or am I thinking about something else?
No, so part of the stipulation on getting on receiving the reimbursement it's a reimbursement program. So part of the stipulations on receiving that reimbursement will be that the property will be annexed and zoned. So what we've done is we've gotten a letter from the Planning and Zoning Commission, a resolution from the Planning and Zoning Commission at Benton, and a letter from the city attorney basically saying that they will entertain, because it has to be requested. Once we purchase the property, Judge, then we will, request that annexation. They've got a method by which they can expedite that for the purposes of this grant. So essentially, the county would be buying the property, then seeking the annexation, and then the zoning at that time, and then the reimbursement could be drawn down from TV.
Yeah, I understood the procedure, but
Okay.
I just didn't know but communication has already been had, as you just said, with the city of Benton, and that letter is in hand.
Correct.
We We had that letter in hand.
Yes.
Can I get a copy of that sometime, the letter from the Planning and Zoning Board?
Sure.
Okay. Thanks.
May I add to that?
Yes.
The letter Mr. Coe spoke of was a resolution from the Planning and Zoning Board, and I believe at a prior fiscal court meeting, there was a discussion about an agreement, a formalized written agreement between the county and the city. I've got a draft of that. The city council of Benton discussed this last night, and as part of the conversation that I had with Josh about the zoning classification, trying to expedite that process, the city wants to consider doing what's called a mixed-use overlay district for this industrial park, so that it's zoned as industrial, but upon specific application, certain commercial types of activities, such as professional services, logistics, engineering, and those types of things could be placed on this site, just to make sure that the improved functionality of this land is as optimal as possible. So I don't have that as part of the agreement. I do have a draft of the agreement, but based on the city council's input, I'm going to modify that a little bit before I send it over. So I just want to let the court know that's in the works.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and so to that, Judge, that's a conversation that Zach and I had about the industrial park, that, this does allow for those kinds of professional services and maybe some commercial use there. So appreciate the city being responsive to that.
Would TVA allow that?
Allow what?
Well, I thought it had to be just strictly industrial.
No, it has to be annexed and zoned. The zoning will be industrial, but there will be some multi-purpose use there.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, that's not gonna be a problem.
They don't have a problem with
No,
that?
no.
With other professional?
No, that's just knowing that the property will be annexed into the city limits and that it will be zoned industrial will suffice what we need for this grant application.
Let's see, I think we need a motion for me to sign the commitment letter for the fiscal court.
So moved, Judge.
Second?
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Judge, thank you and the commissioners. This is a great project. Everything's moving along really well. A lot of momentum, a lot of partnerships that are being built around this project. So thank you all for your leadership. And
Thank you,
getting
Josh.
this done.
Let me go back and make sure I clear up my comments on personal changes so everybody understands. Jeff and I had talked yesterday. There was some confusion on this, and it was stated that out of my office I made this pay increase that would circumvent the fiscal court. So that's what my comments is directed at, that this is something that happened at Jeff's office. Therefore, it doesn't need fiscal court's approval. So I just want to clarify my comments on that. We'll move on under correspondence, the voting machine replacement estimate. We got the estimate back. You can see $410,183.92 was approved. I talked to Mike Gilligan, and this material or this property that we own, I think we've got, I think they cut us a check, but
About $57,000 worth.
okay. I talked to Mike, and he was saying that since this is property that's owned, once there's the invoiced amount, they will actually reimburse the full amount. So if there's any questions regarding the reimbursement amount. Anybody got any questions on that? All right. And we'll move on with correspondence. This is the Knights of Columbus Council, 10988, their annual fish fry at St. Pius X Catholic Church in Calvert City. Come and enjoy a wonderful dinner on Friday of Lent, beginning on Friday, February 16th, and running on every Friday until March 23rd, 2018. The adult plates are 10, children's plates are 5. This includes the fish and chicken and shrimp, baked potato, fries, hush puppies, coleslaw, desserts, and a drink. All money raised stays in the community to help local charities and those in need. So that's 4 p.m. from 7 p.m. From February 16th to March 23rd. See correspondence, the ALC non-recurring project letter. I'll just read this. This is from the Administrative Office of the Courts. Dear Judge Neal, our records indicate that request has been made and cost estimates received for the boiler replacement, heat pump repairs in the judge's office, and the heat pump repairs for the second floor offices in the Marshall County Judicial Facility. If you agree to the proceeds with this project, please sign below and return to me. This project will need to be completed no later than May 1st, 18, to ensure the availability of funds. Projects completed past this date may not be reimbursed by the ALC. Please be sure to notify me for approval if the total cost of the project should exceed more than 5% of the original estimated cost. Also, upon completion of the project, please be sure to send Asia Wood at the AOC a copy of the invoice and front-back copy of the canceled check for reimbursement. The boiler replacement estimated cost $13,760. AOC's occupancy 80%. County cost $2,752. So the AOC's total cost $11,008 on the boiler. The heat pump repairs in judge's office. Estimated cost $3,780. ALC occupancy 80%. County cost $756. ALC's total cost $3,024. Heat pump repairs in second floor offices. Estimated cost $580. ALC's occupancy 80%. County cost $116. ALC cost $464. Total cost estimated $18,120. ALC's occupancy of 80%. County cost $3,624. Total cost ALC $14,496. And that's sincerely from Danny Rhodes. That is, Tracy, do you got any comments on that as far as the heat pump repairs and the boiler replacement? I think, go ahead.
I do know they checked at replacing what we had compared to purchasing new, and this is the cheapest route. And the best route that they could come up with.
Okay. Let's see, it doesn't have it on here, but I think we need a motion for me to sign this.
Motion to sign off on the repairs to the judicial building.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Under correspondence, Marshall County Veteran Support Group, just want to advise the Fiscal Court and everyone else who's present that the Marshall County Veteran Support Group had discussions earlier this year to actually have a Veterans Day parade in Marshall County. So they have started an initiative to have a Veterans Day parade in Marshall County on Veterans Day. They want to stay true to the November 11th date. This year is going to actually fall on a Sunday, but we're going to make plans to have an actual parade in Marshall County. We think that it's a great idea to have that to recognize our veterans in the county. There'll be more information and public announcements coming out from the group to make it aware to the organizations that want to show support that day and the citizens that want to get involved. So just be looking forward to that information that's coming out. And I know all the post commanders that are on that board, everyone's excited. And it's a long time waiting to recognize our veterans. The under correspondence, KRWFC loan. Brad, we just got this yesterday, correct?
So we've been waiting to hear back from Rural Water on the loan that we were going to take out to match with the DRA grant that's taking care of the lift stations in Aurora. We received this yesterday regarding that loan. I'll just read it. I had an email to you stuck in my outbox. I apologize for the delay. I just wanted to update you. I had initially scheduled to have your loan sold with 2 other refundings as your approval from state and local debt officer came through. Tax reform hit the news and interest rates increased, meaning those refundings were no longer viable. I think it's detriment to you to take a small loan to market on its own, but we have operating fund that we use to advance funds or construction in that cases. If you will let us know in a week in advance of when you need funds, we can get funds out the door as soon as the loan document's signed, which shouldn't be more than a week. So I know Judge Neal talked to the chairman of this board yesterday on the phone, and I think we're gonna look at some different options as far as this funding goes.
This has taken 7 months. I know I'm not happy with the fact that it's taken this long. Initially, we were told, the debt officer, I think it was back in December when we brought you those documents, that the debt officer had reviewed this project, and we were told that we would have the fund or the loan information in January, early January. Made contact again once we didn't get those, didn't even get notified, late January, and we're told that it'd be the end of February. Well, we just got this yesterday. And we had our budget, actually we were in our budget meeting yesterday when we got this. So we had discussed it with Emily and went over the budget. We've actually got the funds available to pay this directly so that we don't have to wait and the interest rates continue to go up. My biggest complaint is that the communication to my office as far as the process. We've had to deal with the bonds attorney, we had to deal with Raymond James, and it just seemed like it was very confusing on their end as far as what we were trying to request and the actual loan amount. But the dollar amount, do you have the dollar amount, Brad? It's they were combining us with 2 other projects, and it was a water project, which obviously goes through PSC, and that was a delay. That wasn't communicated to us until yesterday, which I was a little frustrated with that, because you can just imagine when they try to group the projects together, we're now tied up with another city government or county government where their project, if they have delays, it inadvertently causes us to have delays. But Youngblood, or the contractors are out there right now, and their time frame of when they're going to be done in Aurora. I mean, Chad might, when he gets up to talk about it, he might be able to give us some more direct timeline. But that project's nearing completion, and they're going to be wanting to get paid. So
Yeah, and I think that the loan total maximum was $625,000. We didn't anticipate spending all of that, but we had some contingencies in there. I think we totaled up probably after all of the construction's completed, probably upwards to close to $500,000, a little bit over.
one of the options would be the fiscal court just to pay that out of reserves, and that way we don't have to have the interest rates. I think they were, did she comment on what the interest rates were?
No.
What they had given us projected back end of last year was like 3.2 annual over the course of a 20-year note. And if the interest rates are going up, I think 4% is an interest rate that I had heard. So it saves the district, Aurora, that interest rate. If the county were to just pay it, then their payment back to us wouldn't have
Their
anything.
payment would come back to us where it's set up now with the park and all their funding it's coming in.
Yeah,
We'd just basically be the loan
yeah.
administrator.
Are they not able,
Yeah.
that entity, not able to apply for that loan?
The,
We're
We-
applying
yeah.
on their behalf?
are you talking about, who are you talking
This,
about?
this project here,
The,
I mean,
well, we are the entity. We form the Marsh County Sanitation District. Yeah.
this, you just got this information yesterday, I just got this information this morning. also. So like I say, I'm not up to speed on this particular document and so forth, so.
What this document means is that there's no clear timeline when we'll get approved
Right,
for
yeah,
the loan.
I read the,
And the contractors, I think Chad just sent an invoice from the contractors wanting to get paid. I think we've got one invoice for 104,000. If you remember the DRA funds, that was 224,000 that was allocated for this project.
We have approximately 65,000 left in that grant.
But what do you need now? I mean, you'll have an invoice at some point we'll have to approve
We'll have
for
to.
payment.
And if there's 65,000 left in the DRA funds, we don't have a clear timeline on this, nor do we know what the rates are gonna be. You know, we sat down and looked, we've got the monies in the reserves. To me, it just makes sense for the county to go ahead and pay it, and then that district doesn't have to pay the interest cost on that, they just pay us back.
I mean, as long as we're gonna begin to get, get our payments back and we can handle that, if, from a budgetary standpoint, I don't have any problem with it.
I think what we can do is submit the 104,000 invoice to DRA to get the rest of that grant reimbursed from there, and then we'll have to bring the rest of it, the remainder, to the court
Fiscal
for
Court.
approval.
Yeah. And I think that'll show commitment to DRA. I know we discussed it last time. They wanted skin in the game from the fiscal court, so I think that will meet that as well. So do we want to deal with the invoice?
Yeah, I can create the last drawdown from the grant and let DRA know that we will be responsible, the court will be responsible for taking care of the rest of it. So I can do that for the next meeting.
Do we need a motion on to cover the remaining balance?
Yes.
The fiscal court?
Which at this point is, right now, it's $100,000 or so, and,
Yeah, you take the 65
okay.
from 100.
I'd make the
104.
motion that we can cover that, up to whatever the difference is between the 65,000 remaining in the DRA funds and 100 and, whatever that invoice
104.
is, $103,000 or $104,000.
Is there a second?
second,
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Correspondence, Benton Wood Products Job Fair. Now hiring second shift, 20 production positions available, March 6th, 2018, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Excellent benefits and competitive wages, 401k and health insurance, paid vacation and holidays, optional disability vision life. That's at 4377 Mayfield Highway, Benton, Kentucky. It's the Independent Stave Mill Company. You can also go online at independentstavecompany.com/careers. We'll also post this on our webpage, so if you want to share this with anybody that's looking for a job, they're now hiring. This is a great opportunity for 20 production positions. So we'll post this on our webpage and Facebook so that people can see that.
sir.
They haven't contacted me, I just wanted to talk to you.
I don't know, I can find out.
That seems to be very helpful.
I'll look into it, Sheriff, thank you.
Is there any information about the salaries, what's available, range? No?
It might be on their webpage, I'm not sure, or Josh might know.
As far as the salaries go, it'll depend on the jobs that are being hired. So it will depend on what positions they're hiring for, and I'm sure that will be negotiated between the employer and the employee, so.
Thank you. Under old business, approve the minutes for February 6, 18 meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes, Judge.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have to reschedule our meeting with the Extension Office. Initially, we had it for March 6th. Let me see here. We got those dates. Is it on there? There it is. We have to, March 7th or 8th is what we need to look at. Let's see. And that's the meeting where we meet March 6th, so it'll be well, let me see here.
They can't do it then? With our, in coordination with our regular scheduled meeting?
Correct. We can, let's see, I'm trying to think if we ought to just change March 6th fiscal court meeting to March 7th. That's one of the dates. Just switch it. Fiscal court on the 7th. And do like we did, schedule 10 o'clock to go meet with them.
I can do the 7th.
Okay. Well, then we'll go ahead and make it March 7th. Then we'll make the fiscal court meeting for March 7th at 9:30 as well. So we'll just.
County Attorney's Office, can they do that?
I mean, that's a Wednesday, but Lisa will not have retired yet, so she can help me with court and Jeff should be able to do it.
Okay. Do we need a motion on that? Jason, do we need a motion on that
Yeah.
to change? Okay.
Change the meeting to fiscal court meeting to the March 7th, 9:30.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And then at 10 o'clock that morning, we'll have our meeting with the Extension Office. They're going to take us out and show us the reservoirs. Do we need to set 10 o'clock, or is that just an agenda item? How were we going to do that? Were we going to recess and go? You can recess. Okay. All right. We'll move on to old business, Homeland Security Grant. Kurt presented this to us. We got approved. I just need to sign it. I just wanted to get the fiscal court's permission to sign this grant. And it's on the sonar. And we'll get this back to Homeland Security so that we can start that process.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. I've got Chad here. Chad, if you want to come up from Rivercrest. When we had last met last year discussing the expansion project, the engineering proposal, we had approved the preliminary evaluation, surveying and preliminary design, final design and permitting, easement development and negotiation for Rivercrest, and they've pretty much done all that, or I think the easements, you're still in the process, but the next phase with the KIA loan and the timeline is to start the construction contract procurement, construction engineering and closeout, and construction observation. So we would need to approve Rivercrest engineering to do the construction contract procurement, engineering closeout, and observation based off their original proposal.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a proper time to discuss this while Chad's here, but where did we end up as far as the talk with the Marshall County School System and Christian Fellowship on the construction phase of it? I know when last time you were here at the podium, you said something about the Marshall County School System's part was going to be $1.2 million, and where are we with that? And the Christian Fellowship, $125,000, if my memory serves me correctly.
Still need some more discussions with Christian Fellowship. folks, the intent of the project is to get the sanitary sewer to their property as we had originally planned. As far as the high school goes, we've got a meeting tentatively scheduled for March the 2nd to sit down with the school board. Again, we met with them back before Thanksgiving, had a very positive meeting, had some correspondence from the folks in Frankfurt after that meeting. Basically, it had just entailed another meeting. It wasn't productive to go through email chains and to try to speak over the telephone with folks in Frankfurt about the situation. So we're going to meet with them again on the 2nd, basically just to give them one more shot to commit.
They're going to meet with Marshall County School System.
And the gentleman from Frankfurt that we had some email correspondence with, he's coming down to Marshall County.
On behalf of the school system?
Well, the school system representatives are going to be there also at that same time.
I just didn't know. I was at that meeting before Thanksgiving also, and it seemed clear to me from the superintendent made the opening statement that even if they wanted to, they could not participate because of on the laying of the lines because it wasn't on school property, and that was just the rules and regulations that they had to abide by. That
was some misinformation at that time, and
okay.
we can go back and look at the McCracken County school system and how the sanitary sewer extension was performed through their property and how those expenses were allowable because they were direct benefit to the
that's not
there.
what Superintendent Lovett said at the beginning of that meeting. That is not accurate. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Which meeting are we talking about? Because we've had two meetings.
The one before Christmas, or excuse me,
Pepsi
before
plant?
Thanksgiving.
No,
we had the Pepsi plant.
We had another
We
meeting.
had another one that was a follow-up over at the Board of Education office, and it was much more fruitful. We had a very good discussion at that meeting, and it seemed like everybody was pretty well on board. They just needed to present it, and we presented them with some mapping, and they sent that up to Frankfurt and got a response from Frankfurt. And I don't have all the details with me. I don't have the email with me, but there was a lot of details and questions in reference to granting an easement for perpetuity to the sanitation district, which we have issue with.
Are they on board to the extent of $1.2 million like that was proposed? I mean, that's the last information that I'd received.
Yeah. Based on the meeting that we had at the Board of Education office, yes. Based on the email response that we got from the gentleman in Frankfurt, we need more discussion. He just doesn't understand the need for their wastewater sewer service to be extended over there to the school.
Wouldn't that be a vital part of this project, knowing that answer?
It's vital, but I don't know that it changes the scope or the intent of the project. I mean, getting flows, getting the people that are on septic systems that are having issues, getting them on the sewer system, and also allowing for future expansion, both down 68 and 641, as a benefit to the entire community in there. And I think it's just a matter of time before the school would want to tie on to the system, knowing the shape that their wastewater treatment plant's in right now.
Yeah, I know it's a dinosaur out there and they want to get out of the business, and I'd assumed it would be a win-win proposition, but we also need their water, those bugs that they provide from the amount of water that comes through there to offset the grease and so forth. That's, been the big problem. That was a big part of that program, and I just hadn't heard on anything except what I heard at that meeting before Thanksgiving, that and I just assumed the $1.2 million, or what I heard here, was a vital part of that, because if they are not going to participate at that level, then obviously we're responsible for that $1.2 million.
To some respect,
yeah, not exactly.
That $1.2 million, a lot of that, the cost is rolled into the construction of the sewers across their property. Now, obviously, if they don't buy into that, if they don't want to go through that approach, the construction can stop at the lift station.
A lot of it, how much, what's a lot of the $1.2 million? The way I understood it was that they can expend funds on their property, but if it's off their property, they cannot expend any funds even if they wanted to, or that was a statement I heard.
That's consistent. That's consistent with what they've told us, yes. But that $1.2 million is solely on their property. That doesn't include any construction off of their property.
Oh, okay, that's not the way I understood it.
No, if we included the force main, which extends off of their property, that's connected to the lift station on school property, we could increase that cost by over $500,000.
Right.
But they were,
If we were just servicing them and,
that's right, if the school simply wanted to put a lift
Right.
station and force main in, they would be
Right.
responsible for 100% of that cost, which is, it's kind of an odd argument to make. They would be responsible for that force main if they wanted to get off of their treatment plant and pump to the plant. So we're dealing with that right now, but,
and that meeting is when?
March the 2nd is
O-
what we
Open to the
typically-
public?
I'm not sure how that's set up, Judge.
I don't think it is.
Okay.
Not open to the public.
Not
I don't think it is. It's not, there's no voting. There's not going to be, it's just information. Like Chad was saying, I don't think the state, the gentleman that corresponded, understands this project in detail. This is a project that's been going on back to 2002, 2003. I don't think they understand the full scope of the project. And it's on their end. I mean, we can sit down and show them all the information, but it's on their end if they're going to.
And where's this meeting gonna take place, you know? March 2nd?
March 2nd.
Where?
I believe it's the Board of Education
It's the Board of
office.
Education.
Yep. There's mutual benefit. As far as the cost goes, I don't think there's much argument about the cost. That is the cost based on the burden that it would put on the treatment plant, on the sanitation district. So if you just strictly look at the flows that are to be added by the project, and you look at the school's flows versus the other flows, it's a pretty easy calculation to show that that is the burden that they would bear for tapping onto the system.
The reason
for the
I ask,
sanitation
I would certainly like to be there since I vote on the project and it's my responsibility to represent the taxpayers. I would certainly like to be present at that meeting if possible.
I can't deny you access.
Okay. I just didn't, that's why I asked if it was a public, open meeting.
The gist
If
of
it's
the
with
meeting
the
really is
school
just
board,
to explain.
it'd be an open meeting.
It's
Yeah.
not the school board. No. It's the maintenance director, which is Jeff Stokes and Trent Lovett, and their financial person. And then this gentleman that's coming down from the state. As far as on our end, we're ready to go. They're the ones that are going to have to work out on their end. I mean, there's nothing that we can do.
And then on top of everything else, though, ultimately, we set the fee schedule for that, for the use,
Yes.
so we can recoup. I mean, if that's what it takes, I mean, we can recoup it in some way, in that way.
And it's mainly the district personnel representatives are going to be there because some of the questions that Chad had mentioned with this gentleman from the state, that's the technicality stuff that's definitely over my head. That's where the engineer steps in and explains it to them. That's pretty much what the conversation is going to be. But to get back to the actual proposal, the engineering service proposal, if you remember when we discussed this last year, we did, in their proposal, after the first paragraph, A through G, we agreed for them to do the preliminary evaluation, survey and design, easement development negotiation, final design and permitting. The next three things that we need to have completed is the construction phase of this project. So we would need to have a motion to approve Rivercrest to finish the construction contract procurement, engineering closeout, and observation.
I would agree that needs to continue to move forward, Judge. I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is the KIA loan agreement. Chad and I went up to DLG in Frankfurt, and we sat down in the board. Our project was presented, and Chad, if you want to take it from there as far as being approved on that.
All right. As you see up there, that's a copy of the conditional commitment letter. As the judge mentioned, we went up there beginning of February and met with folks at the KIA. They have approved at that meeting, they approved moving forward with this loan to the fiscal court for the construction of the project. This is the total loan amount there, the $3,066,988. And at this point in time, the copy of the conditional commitment letter has been submitted to the fiscal court for review and approval, and where this, from a timing standpoint, what this does, this starts the process of getting the loan funds approved and moving through the legal ranks there at KIA, so that once construction is ready to begin on that project, that the funds will be available. It does take a few months to go through this process, based on previous experience with the City of Benton's loan through KIA that we're helping them out with right now. Once this is just step number one, getting the conditional commitment letter executed, then it goes back through the KIA, and then they send it to their attorneys for final approval, and then another round of approval come back to the fiscal court for execution of the actual loan agreement. So as far as the loan administration goes, we will be helping, facilitating those signatures and moving that stuff along as best we can. Some of the things that are tied up in Frankfurt, we won't be able to do much with, but wait and stay in touch with them to make sure that everything's getting to the right people. But again,
associated with this project, have you all run the numbers if and when the Marshall County High School comes aboard with the usage and what income that will bring to the sanitation district new business? I know that was planned in 2010 and 11 when the first time the same procedure took place, and at the plants, and when F&H left in 2011, they recommended that the rates be raised out there, and this project that we're about to partake in would be seen out to that was their recommendation, virtually the same plan. Mm-hmm. And have the numbers been run as of now? And I've asked, and I've discussed this with the county attorney yesterday and other attorneys, as our debt grows on behalf of the sanitation districts, or now the two sanitation districts, we'll have, is that correct, Emily, roughly $5 million tied up?
I'm sorry.
I just want to clarify that's our debt.
What?
That's our debt.
That's what?
That's the county's debt.
Okay, so we're assuming all responsibility for both those entities now. Okay.
Up to this.
I know their employees are those combined sanitation districts. So we're assuming regardless. My question about the fees that will generate, the business that will generate. We're running those lines out there at a cost of, roughly $5 million now for that sanitation district. Is that accurate?
$3 million for sanitation, what was the sanitation district number 2
right
here for these first three phases.
But the first time it went down, it was $576,000 in 10 and 11, and there was of course, the structure was different, and the board hadn't been combined, and I'm very excited that the board has been combined. I think we got some good board members on there, and I think that's a step in the positive direction, and I commend those board members. Randy's sitting out here, and I don't know if anybody else is on that board that's here, but I certainly commend them. They bought a ticket on the Titanic knowing history, and I appreciate their efforts, and because there was some serious problems out there, and I appreciate their efforts in doing so, and I think that was a positive step to combine those boards. But going forward with coming out of the general fund, those monies coming out of the general fund, have the numbers been run, what revenue that it's going to bring in, this project is going to bring back into the system? I know the numbers were discussed at the school board, where somebody asked the question, maybe you or somebody, if they knew the water usage, per whatever. Like I say, it's over my head. I don't speak the language either, but have the numbers been run to see what that and the Christian Fellowship and the proposed expansion, the revenue it'll generate?
Yes, those have, and I know the rate committee is actually meeting right now, and Randy may be able to speak to that in a little more
Okay.
detail in the
I
coming
just,
weeks.
I haven't been
They're-
privileged to that information, and
Why don't we
think
do
that's
this,
pretty
instead,
vital.
instead of having the engineer ask that question, you got the board director or chairman. Randy, do you want to step up, because here's something that the fiscal court did, Rick, if you remember, the ordinance that we passed. In it, it states that the district has to put a rate committee together. So, Randy, do you want to share with us?
Yeah, I've talked to Bob Turner last night for about an hour and 20 minutes, and he explained, which I wasn't aware of either, which is a positive step, but it wasn't communicated with me that was put together, so that was my concerns, and of course, that eased a little of my concerns too, that the rate committee had been, 2 meetings ago, had been established. Is
Right.
that,
Well, if you remember the ordinance, the sanitation ordinance we passed a while back, that was one of the requirements in it, is we had to have a rate committee established per the ordinance, and it specifically outlines how this committee operates. And we've got that. We've got 4 gentlemen that are successful businessmen, I have a lot of respect for here in the county, and we're trying
What
to keep
Bob
it
told me.
balanced. We've got 2 from Aurora and 2 from Draffenville, and they're doing a good job. But there's a lot of things that you have to calculate and figure, but their job is, in the task that I gave them, report back by April 1 with at least 2 options on rate changes.
okay?
And what we've got to do, we've got to look at our payback. We've got to look at building our reserve in case we have something go down. And we've also got to look at answering to yourself and judge the fiscal court. But you keep talking about the districts paying us back. The point is, I just chair a regulatory board for you. This is
Well, with
Marshall
this
County-
setup.
This is Marshall County Sanitation District.
Right, with the recent setup as of a couple of months ago.
With the ordinance that you agreed to pass.
Correct,
So
correct.
I'm just doing my job, I'm making the machine
Right,
work.
right.
And actually, you're already in charge of this. And,
As
we're-
of a couple of, well, whatever that change took place, that we agreed to join sanitation 1 and 2, and I had no problem with that. I thought that was a great idea, and to cut costs and so forth. I have no problem with that. I just, that's very recently, and when that was done, the sanitation district, this county, and the founding fathers, the fiscal court before us, had already obligated, and there was a debt of, $576,000, I'm sure you're aware of. And that had,
That's sins and transgressions way before my time. I
right,
can't do anything about that.
and mine too, but before this change was made to combine sanitation district 1 and 2, wasn't that total $500,500, close to $600,000, wasn't that up to around $2 million before?
Before, I have no idea.
Okay.
I won't even speculate on before. I started a couple years ago.
Right.
And I'll be glad to answer anything from there
Right.
forward. I'm not gonna go back. We've got our blinders on. We're looking forward. Back's just not gonna help us. And we've gotten to a point now, I may be reading wrong. I'm sitting back here, I'm trying to do like Mark Twain said, trying to keep my mouth shut and appear stupid rather than open it and remove all doubt. But the judge has asked me to open it, so here I am. But I don't see how we could turn back now, honestly. I know that you've been very complimentary, fiscal court has, on the jobs that we've been doing. In 2 years, we brought you from 15 NOVs at $25,000 per NOV per day to well below the limits.
Yeah,
We're in good shape.
that had to happen because EPA was gonna say, here's
Sure.
the keys to the
Sure,
car.
yeah.
Do you want to take them as a fiscal court? And we accepted those keys to the
Right.
plant, and our only other option was to shut her down.
Right.
And obviously, we all want to see
Well, you can't
Draffenville
close
and Aurora
Draffenville, you
prosper.
can't close Aurora, and you can't deny
Exactly,
this
exactly. So
service.
that's why you take the keys to the
Right.
car and proceed.
But the point I'm making is, you've been very supportive, fiscal court has at this point. You see where we've gotten to, we're halfway through this project right now, with your support.
Right.
I can't imagine, you talk about a ticket on Titanic. Yeah, I bought that ticket. Now, what I'm gonna talk about is you helping push us up that hill with that wagon. Every man that's been involved in this project from day one for 2 years has put their shoulder in and carried their part of the burden. And we're just about to peak the hill. We're really close to the top. I can't imagine at this point somebody dropping their load and walking off and letting it roll back down. I can't see that happen. We're too far into it now. There's things that's got to be done. There's decisions to be made and some changes, I'm sure, and we've got some of the best people I know of that's handling this. But at this point in time, we're following the ordinance that you gave us. We're trying to be your regulatory board, and I think we're doing our job well, and we've got to move forward. We can't back up. There's no looking back now. We're at that point. So, is there any other questions?
I just wanted to make sure, because I'm responsible for those monies, and yes, we have designated those monies to go towards this project up to this point, and not all of it, because the players weren't the same as they are right now back in 2010 and 11.
Once we've arrived at some good numbers for you, right now we can't give you an intelligent number. That's what the rate committee's for. And I'm not involved with these guys.
Well, and the rate committee, I mean, it's basically mandated that the rates will operate the two districts.
Right.
And that means that they would repay this at a rate, this $188,000 a year, which is this loan. It's estimated that's $188,000 a year for that, and then your operating fees, salaries, and whatever else. I mean,
Exactly.
That's what it's got. That's what it's going to be.
Considerations there.
Right.
You've got daily operations. You've got emergency operations, which means you're going to have a fund. Example, right now, 3 weeks ago, I had an $8,000 pump go down on a Monday morning. I had $57 in the bank. Do the math on that for a little while.
I've actually been there too.
Yeah, it's not fun, but we make it work. You have beans and rice today and rice and beans tomorrow, and you make it work. And you've got some good dedicated people that are willing to help and take the extra initiative to do so. But we've got to figure our operating costs. We've got to figure emergency expenses, and we've got to figure a payback. And also expansion. We're not through. This expansion's great. We're not done. We're not worried about tomorrow. I don't care about next week. I care about 20 years down the road. I care about the new businesses coming to Draftonville. I care about our new residents coming to Draftonville. The developers have been coming to me. They're very excited, and already some are upset because we're not going to get to them this time. I've got residents upset because we're not going to get to them this time with this expansion. We're doing all we can do. But we've all got to be on board. We've got to follow through with what we've agreed to in the very beginning and started out. It's not time to question or turn around. And I have the good men that will be able to provide the answers you need when we have them. But we're not ready yet. We're not through with this committee.
Yeah, and that's a step in the positive direction. The committee, and Bob relayed that information to me the first I'd heard of that, the fact that the committee had been formed, I think not last meeting, but the meeting before last, and which, like I say, that's certainly a step in the right direction to do that. But that's when I asked Chad about the numbers that this new project generates and so forth, because as we keep spending monies, this is not the only entity or the only project that this body has to deal with. That's one of many that we dedicate money for, direct money in that direction.
That,
so
this is the one I have to deal with.
So we can't keep. I kind of like to hear, and I'm glad that I got that information. There's a rate committee set up, because that's a big part of the problem. It was in 2010 and 11 when F&H left, and that wasn't addressed. And I know in the new agreement it is addressed to form that committee, but that's why I asked Chad about the rates, and I spoke with Bob and about the just a schedule of when with the rates increase and what this project is going to bring, the revenue it's going to bring, and asked Chad about running the numbers about if the two school systems tied in, those questions were asked, I assume, so they could run the numbers to see what the potential revenue was. And I just wonder if there's any ballpark figure of when it's going to be self-sufficient.
I think I already explained that just a second ago. We keep stepping, looking back, and keep hearing F&H and 5 million. I don't care.
Right.
With all due respect, I just really don't
I'm talking
care.
about future.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, that's in the past.
Yes,
We're
it
talking
is.
about future.
I don't want to hear any more about it, sir. I can't look backward.
I'm not talking about looking backwards. My question is forward.
Your answer is, we have formed the rate committee.
Mm-hmm.
I've instructed them as chairman of the board to report to us with 2 options, April 1. Now, if that don't suit us, we're going to go back to the board again, or go back to committee again.
Yeah, I clearly heard that, but like I say, I just didn't get an
To
answer as
ask
far
me
as
to
Chad.
speculate right now on what the rates are going to be, what the income's going to be.
No, they'll know March 1st, and you say March 1st, they'll know that, or April 1st?
April 1st.
April 1st, they'll know that. That's fine.
So
I have no problem with that.
what's your question?
My problem is, my original question to Chad was that if we're going to do this expansion project and continue on with that, which we're all aboard to do so, what were the numbers that the revenue that's going to create just from, if nothing else tagged along besides those 2 schools with the rates that the usage that they have out there? What's that going to bring back into?
I'm going to put you close to a ballpark right now. And Chad, correct me if I'm wrong. We're running, let's just say on average, 30,000 gallons a day through our plant right now. The high school, on average, 25 to 30,000 a day.
Mm-hmm.
That's double the volume.
Mm-hmm.
The residential tap-ons that we're looking at will probably, in my mind, just by a rough head count, another 30,000. So we could possibly increase from 30,000 gallons a day flow up to, say, 90. All right, there's your usage. There's your numbers. The income right now, before the rate increase or rate change, at current rate, on the Draftonville end, we're running about $10,000 a month. That's $120,000 a year. Triple that after the expansion, just as a rule of thumb, as a guess right now. That's not rock hard numbers.
I understand that.
That's
You
just
can't
a
do that.
guess, because I didn't know if I'm like you, I didn't know if I want to be part of this either, if it's not going to pay for itself. I'd like to live in Draftonville the rest of my life. I don't want to have to go to Canada and hide.
I'd like you to, too.
But that's where we're at now. Providing no breakdowns, which there will be, there always is. But right now, with our operational expenses that we have coming in Draftonville, I think that we're just like a muskrat swimming across the pond. We got our nose just above water, just breaking even, just barely.
All right, present, breaking even?
At present.
Okay.
Now, something that is encouraging is we have rebuilt our district. We've rebuilt lines. We've replaced all the pumps. We've got 2 small pumps, $1,500 pumps, that have not been replaced in all of our existing district. So what I'm saying is it's all new. All the old is new. There's no yesterday. It's all brand new right now.
You said we as being this body.
We as being this body, mainly we as being Lindell Groves, our operator that did the work. But this body has replaced it and paid for it.
Right.
Okay. The expansion's going to be brand new. I'm just thinking, you triple your income with all new equipment. I can see a payback coming, but it's going to have to be determined yet, because I don't know exactly what the numbers are going to be. When we do, we will. And when I know, I'll let you know. Right now, I don't, but that's the rule of thumb that I'm looking at, and that's what we're kind of basing on at this point. That's the best we got until we've got good, hard facts and numbers. So, and it'll be April.
So, some of this information I hadn't received the communication at all until those questions right there. That's why I'm asking those questions. I haven't had a chance to talk to Rivercrest, or don't meet with Rivercrest Engineering or you either, and I haven't had a chance to ask those questions and I didn't even know nobody had communicated to me that even existed, and you did that a couple of months ago. I just found out that last night when I talked to Bob Turner, so.
Let me step in because
So,
there's a
that's good.
process. We've gone through this process. I know you've cited Florence and Hudson's. Florence and Hudson's has got a regional plan. Have you read the regional plan?
Florence
cite-
and
you
Hutchinson what?
Florence and Hudson's regional plan. Have you read it?
Their regional plan.
Yes.
My information just came from Roger Colburn about
Okay.
when they did the project, and Doug Moore, who's.
Well,
deputy
there's a
judge
region,
executive
there
of
is a
Crackle
regional
County.
plan. And in that plan, if you look at that plan, we're doing exactly what they're
They
doing.
recommended,
We're,
right?
we're doing everything that has been
understand that,
recommended.
and that's
And
what
where
we should have
let-
done in
let me finish.
2010, 11.
Let
That's
me
what I'm
finish,
saying.
because where we are today, this court has approved an ordinance. They're following that ordinance.
I understand that.
The goal where we need to get, because of how bad this district was in,
Understand that,
just as
too.
Randy has explained to you, it's taken time. Rivercrest being here today, the chairman being here today, is when the fiscal court gets informed on all the work that they've been doing. Every meeting that we've had and every time they've come in front of the fiscal court, they are updating us. Jonathan just updated us on the
Right,
sanitation
and I
district.
appreciate that, but this
So-
is my only opportunity and Bob's only opportunity, and Johnny's not here to hear the information. But that's why I'm asking the questions, to try to educate myself, because I'm responsible and trying to be a good steward of taxpayers' money, and I don't have the answers to those questions, and this is my only opportunity. And that's why I owe it to the people that I represent to ask those questions. I mean, they're hard, tough questions, but I'm spending their money. I'm not spending Rick Cox's money.
You're
I'm
spending my
responsible.
money too,
I'm responsible for taxpayers' money.
That's right, and I respect that, but I want you to know now, feel free at any time to contact me. We don't have to conduct this here. We don't
Right.
have to do it at our board meeting. First up, we're taking up too much time in fiscal court. There's a lot of other business to be done.
I think I don't think we are. I think it's very educational to me and very beneficial.
Have you read the regional plan?
The same
I've
thing,
been over it years ago.
the same thing applies to our board meetings. Our last board
Went all the
meeting
way to Benton.
was 3 hours.
Idaho.
We've had a lot of things going on.
together.
We don't have time to just completely, every time we sit down, explain every detail,
No, I don't.
every time.
I don't need to
But I
know
want,
that.
with that said, you've got my number. I'll meet you anytime, and I'll be glad to take and walk you through what we're doing. Matter of fact, I'll be proud to, because I'm proud of what we got. You really need to see our plant. I know it's been, what, a year and a half since you were there? You won't recognize it. Absolutely will not recognize it.
I've
And,
seen it and here and
we're-
kept up with
well,
when that information's been
I
made
guess the point
available.
I'm making is if you feel misinformed or uninformed on anything to do
No,
with
I
this
don't feel
plan,
misinformed.
let me
This is
know.
just an opportunity to have both of you all here at Rivercrest, and I'm just trying to educate myself so I can make an informed decision.
Okay,
And your next board meeting, I understand, is the 14th of March,
that's right.
4:30.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Bob gave me that information, and so, yeah.
All right. Appreciate it. Does anybody else have any questions for Randy?
We're good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Chad, as far as the KIA loan agreement, February 6th meeting, I informed the court that that's the last thing that we were waiting on. We went to Frankfurt. The board approved our project, and once we received that agreement that we'd be presenting it, we received it on the 6th, and we're presenting it today. There is a timeline that was submitted. I don't know if you've got that information available as far as the construction timeline for bids, and then the
I don't have
procurement.
that timeline with me, but what we're looking at, again, is when we're in the easement stage right now. All the plans and design has been completed, sent to Frankfurt, so we're waiting on a construction permit from them. We're in the easement negotiation process. As soon as those are ready, we'll be ready to bid the project and go to construction. And like I said, this process here with KIA takes a couple months at least to go through, just with their attorneys and legal staff that have to review the agreement to make sure that all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed. So the timing is right to get this addressed and get it pushed through so that when
What about the
construction's ready-
easement process? You're in that process right now?
Yes.
How complicated is that going to be? As complicated as it usually is in projects of this magnitude?
Yeah, I mean, you're dealing with 45-plus entities.
That
Yeah,
was the
we have to
question,
get it.
45 separate entities
Mhm.
that you're,
Sure, and
dealing
it
with.
will. I mean, undoubtedly, we will have a couple that will have some, just obstruction to it, not necessarily obstruction, but they'll have some opposition to the project, and we'll have to deal with that, and maybe they're on the front of the line, or maybe the tail end of the line, and some provisions may need to be made with the overall project to shorten here or there to make the project
does that,
complete.
would that add to the cost of the project if you had 15 balkers in the process out of that 45?
That would depend on the
Or
fiscal
where, I don't
courts.
know how far you are into the process dealing with,
We've touched several of the property owners already and gotten positive responses out of them. So I don't foresee us having any major
several
issues.
being of 45?
Over half
Okay, that's
that we've
good.
touched with and gotten positive responses out of them. And we've touched all the largest players, as far as acreage goes on the
Right.
project, and they've all
Right.
been very pro the project. So we feel confident with that. There's always the possibility of a condemnation action if you had to. Obviously, we're not
That wants to
recommending
be our
that or
that
proposing
wants to
that.
be our last option.
Yeah, you don't want to go to that. This is a public project that's going to betterment the whole area in Draftonville and the whole community. So we don't want to go there, but it's a last resort option if it came to it.
Good deal.
But the project is moving forward, and like I say we will be ready. We anticipate being ready here in the next 2 months to start turning dirt right as soon as they get out of school for the year and having a heavy construction season on that school property.
Are there any other questions for Chad? You got the KIA loan agreement. Is there a motion to approve the KIA loan agreement?
Do we need to wait till this easement process is over to be sure that whatever we're doing is, we've got the funds that we want, or we're gonna go forward? I was concerned that, with the easement process, I was hoping that'd be completed at some point, once you get that, then basically we're done, we're ready to go, correct?
And we've done a lot of preliminary evaluation on this project, and the design that we've arrived at is the least obtrusive
Yeah, that's
alignment.
what,
It's the least in as far as the size of the project, quantities in the project, and it's the least obtrusive to the property owners. We've tried to minimize impacts all the way through. So I think we've got a very good argument with any property owner in any discussion that we're trying to take the path of least resistance here, and we're not trying to bulldoze anybody. We're trying to take the corridor that would be most beneficial to the district and also the least obtrusive to the property owners. We tried to utilize back lines wherever we could so that we're not digging people's front yards up, and I think we do have
There has been
good
some
alignment.
changes in the original plan, from what I understand
yeah.
through the grapevine. Some of the property owners that have contacted me regarding the path across their property and so forth, and I understand that there has been some adjustments made in different paths and courses to avoid them, and of course, there's always going to be moaners and groaners when you start, taking their property, and some of them are going to react a little better than others, so.
The way I read this, the loan's approved, and we actually basically have a year to approve our assistance, or whatever it's called, assistance agreement. I didn't know, I just thought if we got all the easements, then to me, that would be the piece of the puzzle that would finalize everything.
Before construction, the fiscal court will have to execute what's called a clear site certificate, which will designate to KIA and to the loan agency that you have secured all the easements. So there will be another step, checks and balances with KIA. This starts the process, signing the conditional commitment letter, but before they release any funds, there will be another form that will have to be signed by legal counsel at the fiscal court and by the fiscal court, just to make sure that all that property's been secured. So it's a timing thing at this point. This doesn't release the funds to the fiscal court. This gets the process started, moving up to the release of funds.
But it can't be done until the easements are all received?
That's correct. Yeah, they want to know that you've got
So,
all the property secured.
Taking action on this, I know Commissioner Boland contacted me, and when he got his information about the agenda and so forth, and he let us know last month that he wasn't going to be present, and he asked to me to inform the court that he would have liked to been present or liked to be present for this vote, and I just didn't know about the timetable and if we grant his wishes and what difference it would make if we met March 7th and as a court and everybody voted. Is that going to hold up anything? You hadn't got all the easements.
We don't have all the easements, but it would hold up the processing into KIA.
Yeah, and we advised KIA when we were up in Frankfurt, but I spoke to Johnny this morning. He was more concerned with the Oak level update, which we put on the agenda for the next court meeting, but this project he supports, so I talked with him.
Well, I talked to him too, and that's not the read that I got, but about he just asked that.
If the easement, I mean, if there's another step and you know, making sure that we've secured the easements, then I would have no problem with, because we need to be sure that this paperwork continues to flow, but
Right.
That's right.
I don't want to be in a situation where we want to be sure that we have an obstruction, that we can manage it in some way. I mean, I don't want to start forward
Right.
without knowing that we've got easements
That's
procured.
right. You will not be in the middle of construction with a property owner holding you hostage.
Okay.
To get
Right.
across their property. They won't
Okay.
let that happen.
Okay.
And that's, if you look at the timeline, Bob, that's KIA, just like what Chad was saying, this is just to get that started so that on their end.
Well, I'd move that we can continue on with this process. That would mean that you would sign this assistance agreement document.
Correct.
That's so moved.
Is there a second? I'll make the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Any other questions for Chad?
I'll just point out, we do have two gentlemen working on the easements right now, so we're splitting easements down the middle, and they're both running head down. They've got, one of them's working on the project in Aurora, another one will be working here in Benton on their rehab project, so they're gonna be local. They're gonna be available to meet with property owners and get those easements secured just as fast as they can.
Aurora, do you get a rough timeline when they're gonna be done?
Aurora, that construction has been slower, honestly, than what we would have liked. The contractor, I think, was busy with other projects, spread a little thin on the front end. They're daily now, focused on it. Lift stations 2 and 4, which would be at the Catholic Church and behind the Pond Restaurant, are going very well. The structures are in, electricians out there setting panels for electricity right now, and those are moving along well. Number 3 behind the Brass Lantern, they're actively working on that one. They've got a structure set at number 5, so they're actively working at 4 of the sites right now, with the only one being Cherokee. They're near the treatment plant. That one still needs to break ground and move forward. But realistically, I'd see probably a couple months left on the construction of that project.
Not changing the cost in any way then, but.
No, sir. No, we're not adding anything to the contract. The contractor's got lump sum agreements on their line items, and we haven't viewed anything on the job to date that would be a change of condition on the project.
Very good.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you, Chad.
Appreciate you answering the questions, being patient, answering the questions. It's very helpful to me.
That's fine. And I will say Randy's numbers are conservative, so I think, from a revenue stream standpoint, the district I think they'll be in good shape. Now, I don't know what the rates are gonna be, but the flows from the school and from the residents is gonna help considerably with all those areas.
Under old business, the building lease agreement for maintenance department, we actually identified the Seaford building down here in Benton, 1117 Colonial Drive, from John Thomas Seaford. But that building will actually house both the maintenance crew, Tim's storage for his voters' equipment, and the coroner's office. So that way we can start moving the coroner's office into that building. They've all gone down, they've looked at it. The council's prepared an agreement for the commercial lease, which, talking with the insurance adjuster this morning, once the payment comes in that we have to pay, basically we notify him, and then the insurance will cover the lease payment that we have to pay out. You got a copy of this? Do we need to read this?
Sure.
Commercial lease parties. John Thomas Seaford, 1117 Colonial Drive, Benton, Kentucky, 42025, lessor. His heirs, successors, and sons do hereby lease to Marshall County, Kentucky, acting by and through its County Judge Executive Kevin Neal, Courthouse, 1101 Main Street, Benton, Kentucky, 42025, lessee. Its successors and assigns the hereinafter described premises. And the premises, rather than read the entire description, is located on the north end of town and has currently served as the business for Mr. Seaford.
I'd prefer hearing the full description.
There's 3 lots, and I'll leave that for your own review. Term and rental, term of this lease shall be for 1 year, commencing on March 1st, 2018, ending on February 28th, 2019. Rental shall be $1,200 a month, payable in advance on the first day of each month during the term of this lease. Option to renew. The lessee shall have the right to extend the term of this lease for 1 year, one-year term. Should the lessee exercise this option, the monthly rental shall be in an amount to be agreed upon by the parties, and all other provisions of this lease shall remain in full force and effect. Utilities. The lessor shall have no obligation to provide utilities for the leased premises under this lease, and all required leases shall be at the lessee's sole expense, provided, however, any modification to the utilities services as currently installed shall be subject to the written consent of the lessor, which consent shall not unreasonably be withheld. The lessee shall pay as they become due any bills for electricity and all the utilities that may be furnished to the leased premises. Use of leased premises. Lessee may use the leased premises for any purpose not prohibited by law. Compliance with laws. The lessee agrees that no trade or occupation shall be conducted on the leased premises or use made thereof that will be unlawful, improper, noisy, or offensive, or contrary to any law or any municipal law or ordinance in force in Benton, Kentucky. The lessee shall be responsible for compliance with any requirements that may be imposed by the Americans with Disabilities Act relative to use and layout of the leased premises. Maintenance. Lessee's obligations. The lessee agrees to maintain the leased premises in good condition, and the lessee acknowledges that the leased premises are now in good order and condition. Lessee shall be required to perform any and all required maintenance costing less than $100. All other maintenance shall be at the lessor's expense. The lessee shall not permit the leased premises to be damaged, destroyed, or defaced, nor suffer any waste. The lessee will obtain the written consent of the lessor before erecting any sign on the leased premises. Alterations or additions. Lessee shall not make any alterations or changes to the leased premises without the lessor's written consent, which consent shall not be unreasonably withheld or delayed. Any permitted changes shall be at the lessee's expense. Lessee shall not allow any mechanics liens or similar liens to remain upon leased premises for any labor or material furnished to the lessee or that are claimed to have been furnished to the lessee in connection with work of any type performed on the leased premises for or at the direction of the lessee. Lessor's access. The lessor or agents of the lessor may at reasonable times enter to view the leased premises and make such repairs and alterations as the lessor deems necessary, may show the leased premises to others, and at any time within 2 months prior to the expiration of the lease, and affix to any suitable part of the leased premises a notice for letting or selling the leased premises and maintain same on the property. Indemnification and liability. The lessee shall save the lessor harmless from any loss or damage occasioned by any use of the leased premises unless caused by the negligence or misconduct of the lessor, and from all loss and damage wherever occurring occasioned by any omission, fault, neglect, or other misconduct of the lessee or its agents, servants, or employees. Lessee's liability insurance. The lessee shall maintain with respect to the leased premises and the property of which the leased premises are part comprehensive public liability insurance in the amount of at least $1 million with a responsible company qualified to do business in Kentucky and in good standing therein, and insuring the lessor and the lessee against injury to persons or damage to property as their interest may appear. The lessee shall furnish the lessor a copy of the certificates for any insurance at or prior to the commencement of the term. All such insurance certificates or any such insurance all such insurance certificates shall contain waivers of subrogation and shall provide the policy that the policy shall not be canceled without at least 10 days prior written notice to the lessor. Causality, eminent domain. Should any portion of the lease premises be substantially damaged by casualty or be taken by eminent domain so as to be uninhabitable by the lessor, the lessor may elect to terminate this lease. Default or bankruptcy. In the event that the lessee shall default in the payment of any installment of rent or other sum, and herein specified the default shall continue for 10 days after written notice thereof, or the lessee shall default in the observance of performance of any other of the lessee's covenants, agreements, or obligations hereunder, and that default shall not be corrected within 30 days after written notice thereof, then in either the foregoing events, the lessor shall have the right thereafter to enter and take possession of the lease premises, to declare the term of this lease ended, and remove the lessee's property, without prejudice to any remedies which might be otherwise he otherwise have for arrears of rent or other default. The lessee agrees to indemnify the lessor against all loss of rent and other payments which the lessor may incur by reason of such termination during the remainder of the lease term. If the lessee defaults in observance or performance of any conditions or covenants on the lessee's part to be observed to perform, may remedy such default at sole expense of the lessee. If the lessor makes any expenditure or incur any obligations for the payment of money in connection therewith, such sums paid or obligations incurred with interest at the legal rate per annum and costs shall be paid to the lessor by the lessee as additional rent. Notice. Any notice from the lessor to the lessee shall be related to the premises or to the occupancy thereof will be deemed duly served. If left at the lease premises, addressed to the lessees or mailed to the lessee, registered or certified mail, return receipt requested, postage prepaid at the address set forth above. Any notice from the lessee to the lessor relating to the lease premises or the occupancy thereof shall be deemed duly served if mailed to the lessor by registered or certified mail, return receipt requested, postage prepaid, addressed to the lessor at the address set forth above. All rent notices shall be sent to the lessee at the following address: Kevin Neal, County Judge Executive, Courthouse, 1101 Main Street, Benton, Kentucky, 42025. Surrender. The lessee shall, at the expiration or other termination of this lease, shall vacate the lease premises. The lessee shall determine to the lessor the lease premises in good condition. In the event the lessee fails to remove all lessee's property from the premises, the lessor is hereby authorized without liability to the lessee for loss or damage thereto to remove and store same at the lessee's sole expense. Conditions of premises. Except as otherwise expressly set forth herein, the lessee shall accept the lease premises as is and their conditions as of the commencement of the term of this lease, and the lessor shall be obligated to make no improvements to same in order to prepare the lease premises for the lessee. Force majeure. In the event that the lessor is prevented or delayed from making repairs or performing any covenant hereunder by reason of any cause reasonably bound beyond the control of the lessor shall not be liable to the lessee, therefore, except as otherwise expressly provided in the case of a casualty or a taking, shall the lessee be entitled to an abatement or reduction of rent by reason thereof, nor shall same give rise to a claim by the lessee that such failure constitutes actual or constructive eviction from the leased premises. Late charge. If the rent or any other sum payable hereunder remains outstanding for a period of 10 days, the lessee agrees to pay the lessor a late charge equal to 1 1/2% of the amount due for each month or portion thereof during which arrearage continues. Right of termination. Either party may terminate this lease upon giving the other party 90 days written notice prior to the date of termination, in which event the rental obligation will be prorated to the date of such termination.
Wendy, can you guarantee our guys won't be doing anything noisy or offensive?
No, because it's not my guys.
Okay. Okay, good.
Is there any questions on the lease agreement?
Is some of that in our insurance
Tommy's
policy?
I'll get with Marty and get that.
Okay.
Is some of our, does our insurance policy include anything about relocation?
There's a maximum, I think that's a continuation of business. It's up to $500,000, so all of this rent and utilities will come out of that. So it should-
100% of that will be, okay, so that's
And
good to
even,
know. I didn't.
even any of the improvements that we'd have to do to the building to make it fit what we need, we can use as well.
Approve the release agreement.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Could I get you all to add that to our standing order so that I can pay that when the rent is due without having fiscal court approval for it to flow through?
Oh, the lease, I'll move
Yes, the lease payment.
to amend the previous motion to that, or a new motion, whatever. That's something that's
Second.
housekeeping.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. You want to give the fire update?
This is for the equipment.
Yeah. And special projects.
You've got the document from the insurance company regarding the replacement of the dump trucks and the 3/4 ton trucks. And this is the amount for each vehicle that the insurance is replacing. The difference with Tim's voting equipment is that it's property compared to vehicles, the auto coverage. It's a vehicle that's operated on the roadways, so it's not 100% replacement cost.
Our water jetter and the forklift will be.
Will be, yes.
Reasonable, you've looked at it, okay. Do you need a motion to accept this or anything at all?
That was just an update. What's that total amount? I can't see.
With Tech and Brock's trucks, it's $356,771.
356,771. Any questions on that? All right, we'll move to new business. I've got Chairman Tubbs here today from Johnson Creek Water District. They've got a water project that is going to be a line extension from Brewer's Water Tower. And is it the two roads, Jimmy? What two roads was that? They've got a project to where they can put the lines in for that extension. The Brewer Tower right now, it's a 150,000 gallon tank, and they don't have enough customers to use the water that's in that tank. So this line extension is gonna pick up customers to where they can use the water that's in that tank instead of having to dump it out because of the.
We've actually only got 18 customers and brewers right now, so we've got a new tank sitting out there that we have to dump the water out because it gets stale. We don't have enough people, but the 2 lines that we're talking about putting in is probably a mile and 2/10. We've got approximately 10 people that wants water now, and then we've got some more that want it later on. But 18 customers is all we've got right now, so we're trying to get that set up where we can get a lot of people on that line there.
Okay. One of the needs that they have, they've got the project financed. The only thing is the engineering. I was going to ask the court that we fund the engineering, which is $25,000, so that Rivercrest will fund the actual project, engineering project. I talked to PSC Friday, or actually yesterday, and as long as it's not, there's certain projects that have to go through PSC. This particular project does not, as far as the engineering with the fiscal court, so it doesn't affect PSC's regulations. So, but that's, I think it's much needed out in that area. If you got customers already identified, and from what Jimmy was telling me, is there's customers already ready.
Rivercrest has already started doing some of the engineering on it, so we're wanting to get to it as fast as we can, so,
Yep.
yes.
And it's $25,000.
Move to approve the court covering those costs for engineering for this project.
Is there a
Second motion.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I know
Appreciate
line
Jimmy.
extensions is what they're wanting out there, but every one of them comes with just a few bodies. That's, I know another road that they've asked me about, but I don't know how many.
We haven't had the money to do stuff with, so we're now getting where we can do stuff, so we're trying to get as many as we can get out there, so we.
And
need
do we
they
need
need it
to
too.
begin to poll you, if they call me, I mean, get a hold of y'all,
Yes.
if there's customers that
Right.
want, okay, I'll be happy to do that.
Thank you, Judge.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Jimmy.
For funding that, we could take that 25,000 out of the Benton pump project line item. There is that there. If we foresee that we need all of that line item before June 30th, we can look at other places to pull that from.
Where'd you say again?
The Benton pump project, that completion project that we had down, in the budget, we had $100,000 in there.
They probably,
Originally.
that's the Oak Level
Yeah,
project.
we're gonna talk about it next meeting.
Next meeting, yeah.
Okay.
Johnny asked to put it on the next meeting. So. Any questions on that? New business, sheriff's fee settlement 2017. We just need a motion to accept.
Motion to accept the sheriff's fee settlement subject to audit.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, motion carries. Okay. Okay, under new business, Highway 6880, the state property, there, you got a map there, and I think Brad's gonna throw it up on the screen. This is in regards to CMAQ funds that are available for the county. The state, when you look at this, they, with their, when they were putting in the Egners Ferry Bridge, they had some monies left over, and they paved this corner, and they've got a trail going down so that the foot traffic from the parking lot to the bridge, that they can walk over into LBL. The CMAQ funds, it's from the air quality federal funds that the county has available. One of the things that we'd like to do, we're going to submit a CMAQ grant application for this property. I've talked to Michael McGregor from the State District Office, and he's just basically waiting on the fiscal court to move forward on this. And the idea is that the state deed that property over to the county so that we, as the the applicant of the grant have ownership of this property. CMAQ funds can be used for park and ride. That way you reduce the traffic flow to help the air quality. These are ranked projects. We met yesterday, Bob and I did, with residents and business owners in Aurora and updated them, and Josh was there for economic development. They all understand that 80, which is going through Aurora, there's going to be increased traffic, and they want to get more visibility at that intersection to get people to come into Aurora. And actually, while we were out there, we met a family from Lexington that actually Brad knew, but they were coming down the Murray, hadn't been here for about 10, 12 years, and they came through Aurora looking for a place to eat. And so there is that need that's out there, but the idea with the CMAQ funds that Marsh County is available for, you can put benches, lighting out off of this park and ride, and then subsequently we can add to it sidewalks into the city. Now this is a long-term plan, but in the intermediate, we've got to get ownership of this corner lot. If you drive out there, you'll see it. It's paved. It's the one that we voted last year to put a porta-john on for the walkers that walk the bridge. But right now, the court, basically, if we can just state on the minutes that if we're in support of this, Michael will start his initiative to try to get them, the state, to deed that over to us. The grant application is going to be submitted. Now, I will say that I spoke with the state transportation cabinet when I was up in Lexington. We went over, Mark Welch and I went over to Frankfurt, sat down with the coordinator for this program, and she suggested, since it's federal funds, and this is our first time submitting a CMAQ application, that there are those out there that actually are familiar with doing these applications. It'll make it a lot easier if we were to select someone, basically hire someone to actually do the CMAQ application who is familiar with it. And they, if you look at the transportation, the conference we went to, the transportation meetings that were had, your northern Kentucky's counties that actually qualify for these CMAQ funds, they're annually putting in applications. We really don't utilize these funds. So there are individuals out there that have experience in filing on these funds. It just makes sense to me. We tap into somebody that does that, understands the federal regulations, because it is, I know Bob looked at it, it's very detailed, and we want to do it right the first time. And then we've got other ideas and other projects for the county annually. As years come upon us, we can submit future projects as well. But I just wanted to get this in front of the fiscal court to find out if the court is willing to take over that property if the state were to deed that to us. And then I would go back to Michael and let him know that we can start that process.
Certainly, I support it. One of the things that was lost in the change there that was made when it was four-laned is the signage going to Aurora, and we've been unable really to. It's a difficult thing to deal with state right-of-ways along that highway and putting up signage. If we own this property, regardless of whether we get the grant or not, we'll be able to put some signs up that'll direct people into Aurora possibly and tell them that there's food and gas and lodging there. So it's something that we will be able to proceed with whether we get the grant or not. And then the grant would just be certainly additional funds that we could use to make improvements. And I'd certainly support that.
What kind of maintenance and upkeep would be required in the property? I haven't seen.
We've already got the porta potty. We already approved the porta potty out there, and that's about it, unless it needs paving. It's already paved. It's already tied into the trail going to the bridge.
And I don't know, it's not a no-brainer.
We may need to put, this happens, we may need to put it on our mowing list, as far as just mowing around the
There should
the
be,
edge
and
of
there'll be very little of that.
It will be,
It'll just be a
yeah.
real small area, but, you know.
Move that we proceed.
Okay. Well, that'll be stated in the minutes, and I'll get with Michael on that. We'll work on getting that process moving forward. Somebody got any questions?
Well, there's a motion. You want to?
No, not so much a vote, but just support,
There,
and
support,
then,
go ahead.
yeah, because we're going to have District 1 start moving forward, and I'll bring it back to the court. Because if we're going to look for, I'll get with the Transportation Cabinet, as far as anybody that's out there that does CMAQ grant writing, we'll reach out to them as well. Under new business, quote from Marshall County Coroner, you've got that document, and the quote was $4,745. That's a portable freezer that the coroner's office would need. And that we could go ahead and look at purchasing that for the coroner's office. The county coroner's office does not have anything that we own as a county. Is that accurate? Okay. So this would just provide that.
I don't think we got a plug-in for that.
Good. We can just put it.
Just for a year.
Hey, it'll fit two.
I think the estimate was like around $5,000, so that's, when I took the tour of the present location of the coroner's office, and that was their guess of what we could get in the freezer business for, so I have no problem. Kula? Okay.
Is there a motion?
I've made one, yes.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Yeah, if you need to stay on that tracker, find out where it's going to be delivered at. Along with our road plan that Wendy and I put together, we also identified a bridge plan, our infrastructure with not only roads but bridges in the county. And we knew that the state engineer would come down eventually and inspect us, which he did. And we've got 3 bridges. Do you want to share with those?
Yeah, there's 2 bridges on Calvert City Road that need to be replaced. They knocked those down to 9 tons per bridge. Those are the 2 priority ones. And then there's another one that was less than 20 feet, so they don't inspect, but we talked to George Crump, he's the inspector, and he went out and looked at it also, and it was on Sid Darnell Road. And I feel like the 2 on Calvert City Road probably need to be done, you know, first.
And by first, doing it this fiscal year, we did have a budget meeting, and we did identify that we do have some funds. But they reduced the tonnage down to 9 tons, I believe.
9 tons on both bridges.
And is that a school bus route, or is that?
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
It's not anymore if they've reduced it.
Yeah.
So
The urgency on these come due to election year and our 65-35 rule with our budget. I just am afraid we won't have that much flexibility in our total budget to absorb $650,000 worth of bridge bills before December 31st.
So if we do that now, we won't have to deal with the 65-35 rule. And it is bridges. I mean, Wendy had put together, I'd asked her to put together the bridges for the county. I know the state's doing that now. We just submitted the lower than 20 feet so that they can have an inventory as well. But our bridges are just as obviously important than our roads. But we do have the funding, and we can do that. We can start that process now to get those 2 bridges.
And I can also apply for 80/20, what's left in it.
Yeah. I've got a budget amendment on here that that can cover the majority of those expenses. The rest of it, there is reserves in the road fund that I feel like can cover the rest of it. When we get into when the trucks get in, we may have to look at moving some additional funds into the road fund to cover those. But that's something I think we're just gonna have to play by ear because we can't break that 65-35 rule for next year, next fiscal year.
Yeah, those two bridges, those are the same ones that you told me about a couple of months ago that George had inspected those. That's kind of a continuation. He did the same thing on a bridge in just up the road in Calvert City limits, and
Right.
they put those
Limit
same
box
limit
culvert.
restrictions, and they have since replaced that bridge, so.
Of course, it's a short bridge. I didn't see anything obvious on the one on Sid Darnold, really, but
It's washing underneath it.
underneath the foundation.
George looked at it and he said
Hasn't
that it probably needs
settled
to
or
be
anything. I
a
mean, it hasn't settled
longer
or anything.
structure there.
Yeah, we discussed, I don't know if it box culverts or whatever.
Right, and I am gonna get with Michael Johnson with Contact and have him go out with me and look at that too and see if a box culvert would work there, because they're a lot less expensive.
And we're gonna have to get creative, moving forward with, the monies that we put into our infrastructure as far as roads, instead of just focusing on pavement. I mean, we've got to, when we talk about infrastructure, we're talking culverts, we're talking bridges, along with pavement. So we've got to really be creative because, as you can see, the dollars add up quick when we start doing bridges.
Yeah, and I think some of the bridges are fixing to start catching up with us.
Yep.
That was done in the past.
Yeah, so just, be aware of that moving forward. She's worked on a bridge plan, as far as identifying all the bridges in the county. You see the dollar amounts here, these are less than 20 feet. And we've got some bridges that are greater than 20 feet, so.
The two on Calvert City Road, 24 by 60, and then the other one is a 24 by 74. And then the one on Sid Darnold is the one that's less than 20.
Less than 20, okay.
Yeah, that's, anything over 20 is already on the list with,
Right.
according to the commissioner.
Yeah, they look at those annually.
They wanted a list of everything under 20, so that's, George obviously wouldn't be out to inspect the other one because the commissioner promised that.
Yeah, he just done that as a favor to us.
Right.
Do we would need a motion for her to start the bid advertisement for the Calvert City Road.
So moved.
Camp Creek Bridge. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And a bid advertisement for Calvert City Road, Howard Branch Bridge.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Under new business, ordinance 2018-01, budget amendment, first reading.
This is the first reading for ordinance 2018-01, an ordinance relating to the annual budget and amendment thereof, where the County of Marshall has received additional funds. Now it be ordained by the Fiscal Court of Marshall County that Section 1, the annual budget for fiscal year 17-18, is amended to increase revenue accounts from underwriter safety and claims for the maintenance fire, $98,471.82. Purchase area regional industrial authority, $90,000. CAECO workers' comp refund, $25,088. FEMA disaster relief, $42.78. Project worksheet 10, $394,439.89. County road aid, 80/20 fiscal year $17, $24,800. County road aid fiscal year 17 emergency $50 $50,000. County road aid fiscal year 2017 $19,905. County road aid Reed Road FD 39 funds $132,195. And underwriter safety and claims for the maintenance fire $250,000. Increased expenditure accounts, maintenance fire for the maintenance truck, $36,190. Underwriter safety and claims for the fire for voting machines, $57,637.94. Safety and claims for the sheriff's equipment, $4,643.88. Fiscal Court Capital Project, Southwest 1, $90,000. Workers' comp refund, $25,088. FEMA disaster relief, $42.78. Project worksheet 10, $394,439.89. County road aid, $94,705. County road aid, Reed Road, $132,195. And road department equipment, $250,000 for a total of $1,084,899.71. The amounts added to the revenue and expenditure accounts in section 1 are for governmental purposes.
We need a motion for,
Approve the budget amendment, Judge.
Second.
wait a minute, this is first reading.
First reading,
Yes,
okay.
okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Appropriations transfer.
I am asking to move out of general reserves into the judicial center bond payment, $825. Also, it is going to move $1,650 to county clerk audit fees, and $1,000 goes into miscellaneous. Then the other two are for the coroner's equipment. We're moving $6,000 out of health insurance into coroner's equipment, and $10,000 out of general reserves into the maintenance tools fire replacement. Then road reserves are moving $1,000 out into, no, that's another general fund. They zero out.
A motion for appropriations transfer.
Motion to accept appropriation transfers.
Second, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Approve payment of the bills.
Pay the bills, Judge.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll need a motion to go in executive session.
One thing, I thought of this the other day, our grant program, I know you're working on the budget. When should our folks be ready to apply?
We just started the budget workshops or the budget meetings with the committee. I'm hoping by March that we can get that out.
So there'll be an
Let's
announcement.
get the application.
Yeah.
And they'll have some time to put their, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
All right.
Is there a motion to go in executive
Motion to go in
session?
executive session over the opioid litigation update.
Second. I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll go ahead and call Marshall County Fiscal Court back to order. It was just an opioid litigation update, and then litigation on AT&T, which Jeff and I will be going to Nashville tomorrow, and we'll have more information on that. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Judge, before you adjourn, just to give you, inform the court, during the snowstorm, we had one of our Tahoes slide off, and it deployed the side air curtains. So according to the CAECO, what they use, it's totaled the vehicle. So what we're gonna do, and we did all the paperwork yesterday because they got in contact with us, we are gonna buy the vehicle back, turn it in a salvage title. What the difference is from what our buyback is, we'll be able to take the additional monies to repair it and put it back on the road, because there's nothing wrong with it other than the side airbag curtains deploying on it. Never did any body damage or anything to it. So that's the cheapest way to come out on that and still have a good sound vehicle. So just inform the court that's what we're doing with that vehicle.
You're
Okay.
not bound by any regs to have those airbags, are you?
Excuse me?
Are there any regs or anything as far as this is going to be a pursuit vehicle?
Yeah, it has to be reinstalled, but.
Oh,
the-
you're going
the-
to put a new one back in it?
Yeah, the difference between what our
Okay.
buyback is and what they're gonna give us for
Okay, I
insurance,
just understood. I
we'll
thought
be
you
able
were
to
gonna
make the
just not-
repairs for it and still put it on the road and
Okay.
it'd be good to use. Yeah.
Is there a motion?
moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.